Good evening, all. Welcome back to the Be Yourself Apologetically podcast. I'm Becky, your host, and tonight we're going to talk about what to do after an educational healthcare needs assessment refusal. I'm going to base it in Leicestershire, but it will probably be the same process for a lot of you because a lot of people just don't know what to do when this happens. So on this podcast, we talk honestly about special educational needs, real life, and the emotional roller coaster that comes with trying to get the right support for our children. So today we're talking about something that knocks the wind out of you. You finally build up the courage to ask for an EHC needs assessment. You wait, you hope, and then a letter lands on your doormat from Leicestershire County Council, refused, no EHC needs assessment. If that is you right now, this episode is for you. I'm going to walk you through step by step what to do next after an ECNA refusal in Leicestershire, what your rights are in law, and where you can get support so you don't have to navigate this on your own. This is information, not formal legal advice, but it will give you a clear map so you can decide your next move from a place of knowledge and not panic. So take a breath, grab a cuppa, and let us start at the very beginning. So first reaction, that horrible letter. It normally comes through an app called Egress. So when that letter arrives, you scan for the words you are desperate to see, and instead you get, "We have decided not to carry out an educational health and care needs assessment." It feels like they have just told you your child is not bad enough, or that you are overreacting. You might feel angry, numb, tearful, or just exhausted. All of those reactions are completely normal. Before you do anything else, here is your first job. Job 1, find the date on the letter and write it down. Put it in your phone, stick it on your fridge. The date is important because the law gives you time limits to challenge the decision. For most appeals, you have to register your appeal to the SEND tribunal within 2 months of the date on the decision letter, or within 1 month of your mediation certificate, whichever is later. Your second job is, do not reply in anger and do not throw anything away. Keep the emails, any attachments, because this is evidence you are not overreacting by being organised. You are protecting your child's rights. So what exactly has been refused? Let us clear up the jargon. An EHC needs assessment, often shortened to ECNA, is the investigation the local authority does to decide whether your child needs an educational health and care plan, an EHCP. There are 2 different types of no that parents get: refusal to carry out an EH needs assessment at all, agreement to assess, but then refusal to issue an EHCP after the assessment. In this episode, we are focusing on number 1, refusal to assess. This is when Leicestershire County Council has said no at the very first stage. Your letter should say clearly that they are refusing to carry out an EHC needs assessment, give some reasons, and tell you about your right of appeal and mediation. The SEND legal charity, IPSIA, is very clear that this information must be in the refusal letter. If your letter is confusing, vague, or missing information, keep listening because everything I'm about to say still applies. Segment, the legal test. When should they have said yes? Let us talk about the actual legal test, because this is where parents in Leicestershire and everywhere else in England have far more power than they realise. Under the Children and Families Act 2014, the local authority must agree to an EHC needs assessment if the child or young person may have special educational needs and it may be necessary for special education provision to be made through an EHCP. Notice the wording. If it does not say only if the child is failing everything, or only if school has tried absolutely everything for years, or only if there is a diagnosis. It says may have special educational needs and it may be necessary to have an EHCP. The threshold is deliberately low. The tribunal has been very clear in case law that the whole point of an assessment is to find out what is going on. If your child might need more help than a mainstream school can normally provide, then an assessment is often necessary to unlock those enforceable rights. So if your gut is saying, we are not coping, school is not coping, my child is not accessing an education, it is absolutely valid to question a refusal. Your core options after a refusal. Once you have read the letter and noted the date, you have a menu of options. You can accept the refusal and try to work only within school level support. Try informal discussion or complaints with the local authority. Contact an independent advice service for help, such as Sendias Leicestershire or IPSIA. Consider mediation. Lodge a formal appeal to the SEND Tribunal against the refusal to assess. You do not have to pick just one. Many parents contact advice services, explore mediation, gather evidence, and then appeal. Let us break down each option in practical terms. Option 1. Accepting the refusal. It is completely understandable if you are tired, burnt out, and tempted to just accept the refusal. If you do, the law expects the school to keep supporting your child through SEND support and reasonable adjustments. You can push the school to review your child's support plan, increase adaptations, and monitor progress. Leicestershire's own information suggests that where an assessment is refused, schools should continue to plan and provide support. The risk is that if your child's needs are more complex, the support available at SEND support level might not be enough, and you lose valuable time while their anxiety, attendance, or learning gets worse. So I want you to treat accepting the refusal as a decision, not something you drift into because you felt you had no choice. Option 2. Informal challenge or complaint. Sometimes a refusal can be based on incomplete or inaccurate information. Maybe school said things were fine when they are not. Maybe the local authority never saw key reports. Maybe the decision letter simply misunderstood your child's needs. You are allowed to respond. You can. Write back to the SEND team at Leicestershire County Council, pointing out any factual errors or missing evidence and asking them to review the decision. Use the council's sharing your views and complaints routes if you feel the process has been unfair. Sometimes this informal route leads the authority to change its mind and agree to assess. If they do not, your written challenge becomes part of the paper trail that you can use later in a tribunal appeal. Option 3. Getting support in Leicestershire. Please do not underestimate how helpful it is to have someone in your corner. In Leicestershire, you have access to Sendias, the Special Educational Needs and Disability Information, Advice and Support Service. They are free, impartial and confidential, and they support parents and carers and young people aged 0 to 25 with SEND. They can explain the refusal letter, talk through your options, help you understand the law, and support you with forms or meetings. You can contact them on their helpline or by email. You can get also national support from charities such as IPSIA, which provides detailed online guides and sometimes individual advice calls about refusal to assess appeals. If you can, reach out. You are not bothering anyone. This is exactly what those services exist for. Option for mediation. Before you appeal to the SEND tribunal, in most cases, you must at least consider mediation. That does not mean you have to do mediation. It simply means you have to talk to a mediation advisor. After that conversation, you either choose to go ahead with mediation or decide you do not want mediation and ask for a mediation certificate instead. The local authority's decision letter should give you contact details for the mediation advisor. Mediation can sometimes move things forward if the refusal is borderline, because you get to sit around a table or a virtual table and explain the situation. Some families find it helpful, others find it draining. The important bit for appeals is this: you cannot lodge your SEND tribunal appeal until you have that mediation certificate showing that you have either tried mediation or you have chosen not to. Keep the certificate safely with your paperwork. Option 5. Appealing to the SEND tribunal. Now let us talk about the big one. If you disagree with Leicestershire County Council's refusal to carry out an EHC needs assessment, you have the right to appeal to the First Tier Tribunal, Special Educational Needs and Disability, often called the SEND Tribunal or SENDIST. This right to appeal exists across England, wherever you live. Refusal to assess appeals are one of the most common types of SEND tribunal case. IPSIA notes that many of these appeals are actually decided on the written evidence alone, although you are entitled to request an oral hearing if you prefer. The tribunal will look at the same legal tests we talked about earlier. They will ask, does this child or young person may have special educational needs? Might it be necessary for special educational provision to be made via an EHCP? If the answer to both is yes, they can order Leicestershire County Council to carry out an EHC needs assessment. They cannot at this stage order the council to issue an EHCP, only to assess. The plan itself is a separate decision that can also be appealed if refused later. Time limits for appealing. Let us come back to those time limits because they matter. In general, you have 2 months from the date on the local authority's decision letter to register your appeal, or 1 month from the date on your mediation certificate, whichever of those 2 dates is later. If you think you are close to the deadline, do not wait to gather the perfect evidence before you register. Many parents submit the appeal in time, then send extra evidence later. If you are worried you have gone past the deadline, speak to SENDIAS or a legal advice service urgently. In some circumstances, the tribunal can allow a late appeal, but you will usually need to explain why it is late. Gathering evidence for an appeal. Now let us talk about what actually persuades the tribunal. Your appeal is not about how nice you are or whether you have tried hard enough as a parent. It is about evidence that your child may have SEN and may need more support than school can reasonably provide without an EHCP. Useful evidence can include school reports that show gaps, regression, anxiety, non-attendance, or behaviour linked to needs. A detailed school support plan or provision map showing what has been tried, how often, and with what impact. Specialist reports, for example, from CAMHS, paediatrics, educational psychology, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, or other professionals. Letters or emails that show the impact of your child's needs on their attendance, mental health, or ability to access learning. Exclusion records, reduced timetables, or informal send them home early patterns. Your own detailed parental views, describing your child's day-to-day difficulties at home and in school. IPSEA and other organisations provide template letters and refusal to assess packs that guide you through what to include and how to structure it. The key is to show there are significant difficulties that are not just about a temporary blip or simple behaviour. The school has reached its limits, even if they are doing a good job. Without a deeper assessment and potentially an EHCP, your child is at risk of missing out on an education suitable for their needs. Completing the appeal form. When you are ready to appeal, you fill in the relevant tribunal form for a refusal to assess case and send it with your decision letter, your mediation certificate and any initial evidence to the send tribunal. The gov.uk guidance walks you through the process and explains where to send everything. You do not have to have a solicitor, although some families choose to. Many parents represent themselves successfully with support from Sendias or charities like IPSEA. Once your appeal is lodged, the tribunal will send you a timetable. There will be deadlines for the local authority to respond, each side to send in evidence, any case management discussions, the hearing date or paper decision date. Keep that timetable somewhere. You can see it and put the dates in your phone. Life while you wait. One of the hardest parts is the waiting. While the appeal is ticking along, you are still living with the reality of your child's needs, school issues, attendance battles, meltdowns, shutdowns, and all the rest. Here are 3 things you can do during that time that can really help. First, keep a simple diary. Nothing fancy, just a notebook or notes app where you jot down key incidents. For example, Monday, refused school sobbing, said stomach hurt from anxiety. Wednesday, sent home after an hour, too overwhelmed by noise. Friday, teacher says they cannot give one-to-one anymore because of staffing. That diary can become powerful evidence later, showing the pattern over time. Second, keep talking to school. Even if the relationships are strained, keep things in writing where possible. Ask for review meetings, ask what else can be tried at SEND support level, remind them of their duties to make reasonable adjustments and to use the graduated approach of assess, plan, do, review. Third, look after yourself. This whole process can be emotionally brutal. If you are in Leicestershire, you might be juggling not just an EHC issues, but also CAMS, waiting lists, social care, work, money worries, and your own health. It is not selfish to get support for you. That might be talking to your GP about your own stress levels, reaching out to parent carer forums or local support groups, using online communities that understand SEND and the tribunal process. You are human, not a SEND machine. What if they refuse to issue an EHCP later? Very briefly, I want to mention the next possible hiccup. Sometimes, after all this, the local authority agrees to assess, but then at the end of the assessment decide not to issue an EHCP. If that happens, you have a separate right of appeal against the refusal to issue a plan. The process, time limits and use of mediation are similar and the tribunal can then order the authority to issue an EHCP. So if you win your refusal to assess appeal, that is not the end of the story, but it is a huge step forward. Specific Leicestershire signposts. Let us pull this back specifically to Leicestershire. If your EHC needs assessment has been refused by Leicestershire County Council, here are concrete things you can do this week. Reread the refusal letter calmly. Note the dates on the letter. Highlight the reasons they give for refusing. Contact Sendias Leicestershire. They offer free, impartial and confidential advice on SEN issues across the county. They can help you understand whether an appeal is realistic and how to go about it. Check the council's own web pages. Look at the information on assessment, EHCPs and how to disagree with decisions. Make sure the council has followed its own procedures and national law. Read an independent guide to refusal to assess appeals. IPSIA's refusal to assess advice and appeal pack are written for parents and explain the process step by step. Decide your route. Are you going to accept the refusal for now or challenge it? If you plan to challenge, ring the mediation advisor, get your mediation certificate and work back from the appeal deadlines. Emotional validation. You are not asking for too much. Let me say this clearly. Wanting your child to be assessed properly is not pushy, entitled or dramatic. You are asking the system to follow its own law. When Leicestershire or any other local authority refuses to assess, it does not automatically mean your child does not need help. It often means the system is under pressure, money is tight, and thresholds are being interpreted in a way that is not always consistent with the law. You are allowed to push back. You are allowed to say, I disagree, in a calm but firm way. And you are allowed to keep going, even when people imply you are making a fuss. So a quick recap checklist. To finish, here is your quick recap of what to do next after an ECNA refusal in Leicestershire. Find and write down the date on the refusal letter, read the reasons carefully and highlight key phrases, keep every document related to the decision, contact SENDIS Leicestershire for local impartial advice, consider mediation and get your mediation certificate. Decide whether to appeal to the SEN tribunal about the refusal to assess. Gather evidence that your child may have SEN and may need provision beyond what school can normally provide. Look after yourself and keep a diary of what is happening for your child while you wait. If you are listening to this and you are in that raw place after a refusal, please know you are not alone and you are not powerless. You are the expert on your child. The law is on your side more than you think, and there are people and organisations in Leicestershire and nationally whose entire job is to stand beside you in this. If you found this episode helpful, share it with another parent who is sitting with their refusal letter and wondering what on earth to do next. Take things one step at a time. Keep breathing, keep notes, keep going. You and your child deserve an education that fits them, not the other way around. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode.